Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront updates and some very exciting Death Star content that I recorded here in Stockholm last week. In this video I wanted to talk about and show something that I think a lot of you are excited for, the two new heroes, Chewbacca and Bossk. I had a chance to play Bossk twice at the event and Chewie once, so as you can imagine I don't have hours of gameplay experience with them, but it was still more than enough to get a feel for the heroes and how they work. At the end of the video I will explain which hero I prefer for different situations and so on. Let's start off with Chewbacca. I've already detailed his abilities in a previous video, but I thought I would talk about them briefly here anyway since I've actually used them now. His main weapon is of course the bowcaster, and that's what his trait and first ability actually affects. The higher trait level you get, the more projectiles he will fire. Simple as that. His bowcaster does overheat just as any other blaster, but the actual projectiles are very similar to the ones in the star card, so it's basically a mix of the star card and a blaster. The first ability doubles the amount of bolts you fire for a short period of time, so at the max trait combined with the multi-bolt ability he can actually shoot 8 bolts at once. He also has a roar ability which gives him and everyone around him a boosted damage and armor. Even heroes gets affected by this roar, but they don't get any bonus damage but only the armor. Finally we have his ground slam, which is a great ability when you're in a sticky situation and need to just wipe everyone out in the room, because it sends out a shockwave around him that kills any infantry that it touches. I only used Chewie on the Death Star maps and he worked pretty well here, although I didn't get a ton of kills here, simply because I faced off against Bossk and both of us lost a lot of health just by battling each other, but he is a hero that will really be able to clear out corridors quickly when he builds up his trait and fires a lot of bolts at once. The ground slam helps out a ton if you get overwhelmed by enemies or if your weapon overheats. I think he might not be as good on the bigger maps because it's gonna be hard to hit with his bowcaster as the projectile speed feels pretty slow, which can be a problem if you try to hit someone from far away, but on the other hand it works perfectly fine indoors. His bolts seem to do around 60 or 70 damage per hit, so if you shoot someone from a long range you will still have to hit them twice before they die unless you have the roar on, or possibly if you headshot them. I think that should be possible as well. Moving on, we have Bossk, who is equipped with the Relby V10, and his trait is quite unique as it regenerates his health whenever he kills an enemy, and that's the first hero in the game that can actually heal up, except for Leia and Palpatine in the hero modes. As for his abilities, the first one puts his Relby into a grenade mode where he can spam micro grenades for quite a while actually, and this is very powerful, but one thing to consider is that these projectiles actually don't work exactly like barrage, which I kind of expected at first. I fired them at the feet of the enemies, which didn't work super well, but then I realized that the projectiles actually explode on impact if they hit an enemy. So it was a lot more effective trying to actually hit the enemies dead on, and when I realized that, I could clear out rooms and corridors very quickly with that ability. His second ability, Predatory Vision, gives him a heat vision, and when this is activated your cooldowns recharge faster, you do more damage and you run faster. This ability has no cooldown and you can toggle it off and on as you want to, but unfortunately in the build we played there was some sort of bug that randomly turned this ability off, so that's why it looks like I turn it off and on all the time. I hope this bug will be fixed in the release version. The downside of having this ability activated is that it's a lot harder to see who is an enemy and who is a friend. You will probably see me shooting at a few teammates in the clip, because it was really hard to make out who was from what side, and I think that's very good considering all the perks you get from having it on. On top of that, you will also get flashed for a whopping 12 seconds if someone hits you with a flashbang, and the screen will go completely red. Unfortunately I can't show that here because no one actually used flashbangs when we played, but it will be a very good counter against Bossk. His final ability is called Toxic Escape, and he basically performs a jump forward and drops a very deadly Deoxys grenade behind him, which does a lot more damage than the normal version. I noticed that it had a huge radius because in this clip he performs it just before I kill him, and then I thought I walked away from it, but I still died, so it can definitely be very handy. Keep in mind though that it seems like you can't actually take damage from your own Deoxys grenade with Bossk, which is really good to hear because otherwise it would have been very annoying to use on maps like the Death Star. I personally thought Bossk was very good when you got used to his abilities, and considering his healing ability I think he will be a very strong hero, because as you can see in the clips, sometimes my health drops down quite a bit and I get 4 or 5 quick kills, which increases my health quite significantly. I think I got around 30 kills, and after that I was still actually at 60 health thanks to the trait, and I could probably have gotten another 30 or 40 kills before dying if I wasn't stupid enough to rush in against a blaster cannon and lose all my health in a few seconds. So if we compare these heroes, I feel like Chewie might be the hero that is a little bit easier to play, and you basically just shoot in the enemy's general direction and you will get kills. but personally I thought Bossk was the best one out of the two, as if you play good with him you can survive for a very long time. In a straight up 1 versus 1 battle I think Chewie wins, but in a lengthy game Bossk will be able to get a lot more kills and survive for longer, so it depends a little bit on what type of playstyle you like. One last thing I can note is that both heroes feel like they are very strong. It's not like in Bespin where Lando felt quite weak at the release, but right now I think people will really enjoy both Bossk and Chewie, but as I mentioned I don't think Chewie will be very good on the open maps, but we will simply have to try him out at the release. That wraps up my hero overview and my first impressions of them both. Please let me know what you think about them so far and which one you're most excited to try out when the DLC is out for everyone. Don't forget to check out all my other videos I uploaded today containing tons of other Death Star content. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.